What's up guys, Ninth Jump here, and today we're going to be looking at some Series 2 usage stats and first place top teams from online tours that happened in the last week or two. First off, I gotta shout out VGC PokePace on Twitter. Great resource for content creators and VGC players alike. You have PokePace, you have rental codes, you have usage stats, you have tournament results, all of it in one place. So definitely go drop a follow over there. Link in the description. So, check them out. Today we're going to be looking at some first place teams from online tours right here, and we also have a bunch of usage stats of top teams, common pairs, and most common mons from 11 tournaments and over 1,000 different teams. So starting off, we have some teams here. All these teams got first place in an online tour, some bigger than others. Weathers are still going strong. We have a rain team here from Brandon Davis that does feature the Pelipper Dreadnought. It also has the Iron Valiant, Goldengo, and Amoonguss, all that can take advantage of the rain because it minimizes weaknesses. You also have the Sableye here that can also set the weather up for you if you want to. It also has access to screens, quash, a lot of different really good tools on that team. So it's pretty good. It's pretty cool seeing weather and rain particularly still doing well because it didn't really get any inherent buffs like Sun does by being able to proc the photosynthesis by some of their Pokemon, things like the Fluttermane, Roaring Moon. All your past forms do inherently get a buff from that. And now we do actually see another rain team here by Moxie and Fernape. Pelipper Dreadnought once again, but also bringing the Amoonguss and the Kingambit here to take advantage of minimizing its weaknesses. Also has Iron Hands and the, what's that guy? Farigiraf. So a lot of really cool things on this team. Farigiraf giving you a little bit of Trick Room access to that for your Amoonguss, your Kingambit, and your Iron Hands. So if you're looking for like a rain room team, there's a really good starting point. Now we also do see the Torkoal here by Danielle 0504 or Daniel. Really cool team. They brought a Torkoal to the table with the without even really a main room setter, so it's really interesting. Does Fluttermane get Trick Room? I think it does, but it's kind of weird to bring like Fluttermane and set up Trick Room because it's one of the faster Pokemon in the game. And yeah, a lot of really interesting stuff on this team. It's really weird. You have Garganacl and the Kingambit. The Torkoal is really just proccing it for the photosynthesis Fluttermane, which is really interesting. So a really cool team here from Danielle as well. Yeah, that's enough of the weather stuff. We do have some stuff that is not weather, and we do have more combinations here. Snaf 2 brought the Armarouge and Didi Dondozo Tatsugiri to the table with two Paradox Pokemon surrounding it. We have Roaring Moon and the Iron Bundle. Iron Bundle has really shown off as one of the most used Pokemon in the format and one of the most used Paradox, but also just one of the most used Pokemon, same with Iron Hands. We do see a lot of Iron Bundles and Iron Hands on these teams. Out of 9 teams, we do see 5 Iron Bundles and 5 Iron Hands. So a lot of those, and a lot of them are paired on the same team. But we also still see 8 Amoonguss. Amoonguss is not going away from anywhere here in this format, which is something that a lot of people are pretty sad about, but it is the case. What are you going to do when you put this ridiculous Spore Rage Powder beast in a format? It's going to be everywhere. That's always just how it is. Now, another thing you really want to take notice of is how powerful Trick Room is. As you can see, a lot of these Pokemon have Trick Room Pokemon. We see Farigiraf on multiple of these teams. We see the Indeedee Armarouge team definitely features it. It's likely on a few of these other teams as potentially a mix-up on Pokemon as well. So it's a really interesting thing that we see Trick Room really moving up in usage stats, and you would think that, Torkoal moves up a lot in usage stats as Trick Room is getting stronger and its Drought is actually making other Pokemon stronger with all their photosynthesis popping around. But we're only seeing the one Torkoal, which is interesting. But of course, this is first place, so you're not going to see it everywhere, but it is there. Now, we also see some Garganacls and stuff like that, so that's really cool. But overall, that is about it for these teams. A lot of really interesting stuff, but one thing that I think is really interesting is only seeing one Dondozo Tatsugiri, as that is one of the strongest things in our format currently, and one of the things really plaguing VGC. Of course, it's still very strong, and we're about to look at the top usage stats. But if you do take notice here, on the left, we have top most common Pokemon. There's not a single Dondozo Tatsugiri in the top 20, which is really interesting and really kind of wild. We were definitely expecting that. Now, as far as top common mons go, Amoonguss is number 1. That does not surprise anybody. But in second place and third, we have Iron Hands and Iron Bundle. And then continuing the trend of these powerful Paradox Pokemon, we also have Fluttermane and Roaring Moon. all in top 5. And we'll see if this actually, moves forward. Of course, the format is still in testing. These online teams are not all, the teams that most players are going to be bringing. But a lot of really strong usage stats here in all these Pokemon. Now, we also have Gholdengo, Arcanine, Garganacl, Kingambit, Meowscarada. Now, none of these Pokemon really should surprise you in top 10. Of course, Gholdengo and Meowscarada are in top 3 right now, top 5 maybe. Arcanine is a top 10 Pokemon right now. But Arcanine does move up a bit in usage stats. Now, in terms of, Intimidate, it's not really any, much stronger next format, but it definitely does get to take advantage of things like the Iron Hands and Roaring Moon that are moving up in the next format. So you definitely have Intimidate being stronger next format, and these Pokemon don't really want to be using the Clear Amulet. So, it's really good. You have all these Pokemon love Booster Energy. You also have all these Pokemon loving, Assault Vest on the Iron Hands. You have like Life Orb and Choice Items on Roaring Moon, and maybe not really the Choice Items actually. It's really like Life Orb or Clear Amulet on the Roaring Moon most of the time, because you want to be using like Tailwind and Dragon Dance and stuff like that. But you also have, things like the Kingambit and the Meowscarada that don't want to be using these Clear Amulets. They're Focus Sash or AV, respectively. Focus Sash to the Meowscarada, and Kingambit gets the Assault Vest. So, definitely, an uptick of Intimidate, and that makes a lot of sense. Now, right out of top 10, we have Pelipper and Torkoal, both Weather Setters at 11 and 12. And Pelipper is just a bit over the Torkoal, which is surprising because I would think Torkoal would be maybe a top 10 Pokemon, being able to proc Photosynthesis on all the past Pokemon. So, really interesting. Now, we do have Brute Bonnet down here at number 13 as well. This doesn't really surprise too many people. I think we're going to see Amoonguss and Brute Bonnet on a few teams as well. Not that that's incredibly strong, but it's incredibly annoying. Brute Bonnet is amazing. It also has access to Spore and Rage Powder, but it also hits hard with stab moves like Sucker Punch and, all those kind of things. Brute Bonnet is a really strong Pokemon, and seeing it here at number 13 is really interesting because in the proposed Series 2 in the past with, the legendaries and our Paradox Pokemon before Series 1, we actually were not seeing a lot of Brute Bonnet. It's definitely a little bit lower down in usage stats, and people weren't really as excited about using Brute Bonnet because they still just wanted to use Amoonguss. Now, we also have things like Farigiraf down here. Farigiraf definitely has set itself apart from most of the other Trick Room setters. Of course, Armarouge, Mimikyu, and DD Female are all down here in that 16 to 20 range as well. And that makes sense because they can also utilize this Trick Room effectively. But Farigiraf is built different. It's really strong. It's pretty effective offensively as well. You have Hyper Voice, and Hyper Voice is really, really crazy on that move, on that Mon. It's really, really strong. Actually, it's incredibly good because it can proc its own Throat Spray. You have access to the Trick Room. You have removing a Fake Out. It gets rid of Sucker Punch against itself. So it has a lot of really good stuff going for it, and I'm surprised Farigiraf is so low currently, and I don't think it really gets much better. But you do have Iron Hands and Torkoal that really like to use that Trick Room much more effectively, and you have Amoonguss and all these really strong Pokemon. So Trick Room is definitely something to really be scoping out for next format. I think it's incredibly strong. It's really strong right now, and we saw an uptick recently in Trick Room teams, but it definitely makes sense to be on there. Of course, we have the Mimikyu and the NDDF as well, and the Armarouge, all really good Trick Room setters as well. And we have Annihilape sticking around. This guy is not going anywhere. It's still really, really strong, and Maushold strats are still there. They still exist. It's definitely going to see a bit of a downtick as we just want to explore some other Pokemon. There's other beasts in the format, but Annihilape is still a really good Pokemon. We also have Palafin, which is an incredible Pokemon, and I'm surprised to see it really uptick in usage stats. Now, we're seeing Pelipper a lot, and, Palafin just makes sense on a lot of Pelipper teams, but there's not, much inherent synergy that is gained from the rain teams here because, it's not like Drought where it procs anything else. It's kind of just there. And then finally, we have Murkrow here in top 20, and Murkrow gets better, but also kind of gets worse as it's not the only good Tailwind Pokemon anymore. We still have Roaring Moon now as well, which is a really powerful, Tailwind user that doesn't yes, it's different. It doesn't have priority, but it's like an incredibly well-rounded Pokemon that hits really hard and has access to these setup moves like Tailwind and Dragon Dance and stuff. So Murkrow, you're not the only guy in the format that can do it anymore. Of course, you are the only priority Tailwind guy still, really. I mean, Talonflame, but, you're not the only guy around anymore. Now, as far as most common pairs, a lot of this is kind of just like thrown out there. You have Amoonguss Iron Hands that just works on nearly any team, as it gives you like instant checks to Trick Room while also just being really, really powerful Pokemon in their own right. You have Iron Bundle and Amoonguss. None of these are inherent synergies that are like incredible, but they're there. Now with Iron Hands and Iron Bundle, this is a really solid like pairing. You have access to multiple different forms of well, like not really quite speed control, but speed control. You have, of course, speed control in the form of the Iron Bundle, as you have a very fast Icy Wind user. But you also have the Iron Hands that can take advantage of the Trick Room if your opponent uses it. So, you know, that's just like a well-rounded team, well-rounded core that can hit first in most scenarios, which is awesome. You also have Amoonguss and Roaring Moon, Amoonguss Arcanine. Like, all these are just like pairings that make sense. They're not inherently stronger than anything else. Like, Amoonguss is a check under Trick Room, while Roaring Moon gives you Tailwind access, and Amoonguss Arcanine is just like the two most generic Pokemon in the game. And as we're like continuing down here in the common pairs, we're not really seeing any more inherent like synergies out of these Pokemon, as much as just like strong Pokemon. There's two of them. That's really it. And then most common teams, we do see a lot of repeat teams here in usage. Now we are seeing like a lot of Iron Bundle, Iron Hands, Amoonguss Arcanine. These Pokemon are just like the most generic and strong Pokemon in the format, and well-rounded teams that feature well-rounded Pokemon. Now in second, it is interesting to see the Ferrograph on like these Trick Room teams, and this Trick Room team in particular is definitely well-rounded. You have Tailwind, you have Icy Wind, you have Trick Room, so a lot of really good stuff, and all your Pokemon can take advantage of all of these things. So it's just really good in general. I think these Pokemon are really good together, and yeah, it just makes sense. And then in third place, we actually have a Dondozo Tatsugiri team, which is, you know, kind of funny because it's not, it's like nowhere to be found in the common pairs and common mons, the Dondozo Tatsugiri, yet it is third most common team overall. Now, of course, this is out of only 1,000 teams, which I know, only 1,000 teams, that's a lot of teams, but it's like only a week or two of tournaments, right? So you got to look at it that way. But yeah, I think it's pretty interesting that it's phasing out. We see some weird stuff when we go all the way down here, like Scyther, Houndstone, Gastrodon. Gastrodon's good, but it's not really shown off here in this format. Anyway, we don't have to pay too much attention to the most common teams, but as far as common mons and common pairs go, a lot to be said. That's really it for the video. I just wanted to refresh you guys on how Season 2 is going, Series 2 is going, and let me know down in the comments down below what you guys think about Series 2. Do you like it? Do you not like it? Are you looking forward to the change? Do you want to stay here in Series 1? Yeah, curious. Anyway, that's it for the video. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Goodbye.